How's it going? Neema here, KMINYC and defenseforyou.com. Today I want to discuss with you the absolute best self-defense technique that you can use in any situation. Now, the beauty of this specific technique is it doesn't really matter what your physical attributes are. You can be tall, short, athletic, non-athletic, slow, fast. Doesn't really make a difference. Anybody and everybody can actually use this specific technique for any situation. And when I say technique, it's not really a technique per se because you're not learning a particular pattern or a strike or anything like that. It's actually a particular skill that you're using. No, not like Liam Neeson, but maybe a little close. What am I referring to? Awareness. Okay? So what do I mean by awareness? So the definition of awareness, just the simple definition, is where you are in relation to your environment. Okay? So expanding on that, it's an understanding of your physical and your mental state in relation to your environment. So basically asking yourself, where am I in relation to my current surroundings? Okay? That's what awareness is. Now, the beauty of this, of awareness, is that this applies to multiple environments and multiple aspects of your life. So not just in a self-defense situation, all right? The reason why I mention this is because the truth of the matter is, if you ever found yourself or find yourself caught up in a surprise attack, or if you're maybe wondering, how did I get involved in this particular conflict? You know, how did I get here? Majority of the times it was because you didn't notice some of the clues or you weren't necessarily paying attention to your environment to give you the clues necessary to be able to potentially avoid the situation or to remove yourself altogether. So what do we mean by awareness? Okay, so let's break it down a little bit further. All right, so there's a really good book that I highly recommend. It's one that we actually suggest all of our students read. It's called Meditations on Violence by Rory Miller. Really good book. It goes into what violence actually is, especially considering, hate to break to you, what you see on TV and in Hollywood and movies is complete utter nonsense. The way people get hit to the way it sounds, all of it is complete bullshit, actually. He's a corrections officer for over 20 years, so he's dealt with a lot of inmates, dealt with a lot of violence over his years, so really good book. I definitely suggest you check it out. I reference it pretty often. So now, getting into what awareness is, breaking it down. So there are 5 elements to it, and we'll break down each piece. So the first one is awareness of your own body. So what do we mean by that? What we mean is, first, your anatomical weapons, so your limbs, how long your arms are, your legs, if you have nails, do you have any rings on? For women, if you're wearing high heels, using that. I would say anything and everything that you have on you can be used as a weapon. So more than just your actual physical body, but what you have available on you. Also, speaking of physical, knowing your physical strengths and your weaknesses, all right, understanding that, having awareness of that. Also, your movement patterns and tendencies. This can include any injuries or limitations that you may have physically, all right? So that's the first aspect of awareness, is awareness of your body. Second aspect is awareness of your opponent's body, okay? So how do you determine that? Well, you know, a lot of the times if you get into a surprise attack, you may not know until the situation arises. Or if you're using awareness, if you see somebody who maybe looks a little bit sketchy or maybe you're kind of a little suspect, you can be able to look and see, okay, if this is a potential opponent or attacker, what do they look like, assessing them, their limitations, etc. All right. Next piece, and I think this is a really huge piece, awareness of the situation. All right. And then the next piece on top of that, which we'll go into, is awareness of the dynamic. So what do we mean by these two things? So what this means is it's dealing with the situation as it is, not to imagine fears of what you think it might be or wishful thinking, you know? So like denying or telling yourself, no, this situation isn't happening, this isn't real, this can't be happening, this can't be real. No. It's actually facing what is going on in front of you and accepting reality for what it is. That's a huge piece, all right? And the last piece, which is very important to understand, are having an awareness of your beliefs, what your tics are, and what your capacity is, okay? This is a piece that Rory Miller goes into. You know, a big thing to understand and to ask yourself is, what is worth fighting for, what's worth dying for, and what's worth killing for, okay? So these are things are what you can or cannot do, what line you're willing to cross for each of those, okay? So one of the huge points that Rory brings up is a thing called capacity versus capability, okay? So what you think you can do versus what you actually can do, okay? I'll give you two good examples. So the first one is, just striking to the face. So whenever the students come, we have them take an intro course, and we do some drills with partners where we're actually striking to the face. It's light contact, but we're striking to the face. Unless you've had a lot of ring training or prior martial arts experience or gotten to a lot of fights when you were younger, most people have a hard time with striking to the face, okay? Men, women, especially women, but both equally I've seen have a hard time with making contact to the face. So right there is a good example. If you had to actually defend yourself, the likelihood that you would be able to strike someone accurately and to be able to strike them in the face, you got to be able to train yourself for that. Like I said, unless you are actually trained or have been in fights previously, that's something that's difficult to do for most people, okay? Another thing that Rory brings up, and this is a good example, is within a few minutes, you can learn how to break someone's neck. Doesn't take very long, okay? But whether you can actually do it and execute it, that's a difference. So the last thing that I want to discuss also is understanding where your line is. So because once you've reached this line or this capacity, if this is as far as you're willing to go, that's something that you need to know, because as a result, this may or may not help you survive the situation that you're in. So it could be enough, it may not be. So that's something that you will actually have to go over and decide, okay, is this something that I'm capable of? Is this something that I'm okay with? Okay? I'm not even getting into the legal ramifications, it's more just from a survival standpoint. How do we actually work on awareness? The beauty of awareness is that this is a skill that can be developed at any time, okay? And just like with any skill, it's a muscle that needs to be worked on consistently and constantly. Hey guys, how's it going? Hope you enjoyed part one of this video. In part two, I go into how we can increase our awareness and some very simple exercises that we can do on a daily basis to help us improve upon and to increase our awareness, all right? So check out part two. The link is in the description below, all right? So until then, stay safe out there.